Make sure your phone's not on do not disturb or the volume down or anything. You don't want to miss anything? Who was it that missed something because their phone was on do not disturb? Oh, John Bickford.
Yeah.
Jiminy.
We were on the third floor, so yeah, I feel like it should be.
Good evening. Welcome to the August 14th, 2025 meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission. My name is Edmund Cherneski and I am chair of the commission. The commission members will now please introduce themselves. Nate, would you go first?
Nathaniel King.
Liam Reardon.
Anne Marie Quinn.
Also in attendance tonight, we have from the city, Ann Krieg, and our new helper, Matthew Altiero, if I hope I got your name right, Matt, as the planning analyst, and our consultant, Matt Pullen, and a gentleman from Robin Mitchell acting as our legal consult. So for those of you who have not been before the commission before, we have a little preamble that I go over just to kind of review what we do as the Historic Preservation Commission. First, we do serve as the Bangor Center Revitalization Area Design Review Committee designated under Section 71 of City Ordinances, which covers review issues in the downtown and waterfront areas of Bangor. Second, the commission has several responsibilities under this historic preservation section of City Ordinances, which is Section 148, including issuing certificates of appropriateness for construction of or changes to buildings within the city's designated historic districts. Depending on the location, we may have to review a proposal under design review criteria, the historic preservation criteria, or both. If all regular members are in attendance, our associate members participate in the meeting but do not vote on motions. For tonight, we do not have any alternative members present, so only regular members will be voting anyway. A total of 5 votes for any motion are required or expected, though we do have quorum for this meeting. A design review application has to hit 3 affirmative votes to pass, and a historic preservation must receive 4 for a certificate of appropriateness to be issued. The order of the meeting is as follows. I will call the applicants in the order that they appear on the agenda. When I call your project, I will ask you to present your application from the podium. Once you have made your presentation, I will first ask for the consultant's report, second for questions from commission members, and third for any questions or comments from the audience. When questions are completed, the commission will have a discussion of the proposal and the standards of review under which the proposal is being considered. When discussion is complete, the commission will take action on the proposal to approve, deny, or otherwise handle it. When a proposal is being evaluated under both design review and historic preservation criteria, the commission will make separate motions related to each type of review. And of course, we will follow our new protocol as outlined in the agenda in our packets. As always, 3 final comments for applicants before the HPC tonight. If it looks like your project will not be approved, you may choose to withdraw your application, amend your application, and then resubmit your application for a future meeting, or you can ask us to continue it to another meeting as well. If you disagree with the decision of the commission regarding your project, you of course have the right to appeal the decision to the Board of Appeals. All projects need to be started within 6 months and completed within a year. Otherwise, a new application to the commission will have to be made and approved prior to starting your project. Do we have any additions to the agenda to consider tonight from the commission? And we will start with new business. The first item on our agenda tonight is the certificate of appropriateness for 18 West Broadway, map lot 033-001, the Whitney Park Historic District. The applicant / owner is Carl Huntley. Approval has been requested for a certificate of appropriateness to replace the concrete walkway and replace wood on the front porch, steps, and landing. The property again is located at map lot 033-001 in the Whitney Park Historic District. please approach the podium. And I see the microphone is green.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. Welcome, everybody. I don't know this person. Is Sarah McQuillan here at all or not?
She's our development assistant.
Yeah, well, I wanted to thank her for coordinating and helping me do the right thing, I guess, sending in things when I should send them in, that kind of thing.
That's great to hear. Yeah, she's wonderful.
Yeah, she is. Great. Well, as noted in the application for the certificate of appropriateness, I have two projects that I would like to have approved. Mitchell's Landscaping has been contracted to replace the concrete walkway with vintage Holland Granite Hill blend pavers. And can I approach? Supposedly this has been, I'm not gonna throw it. I only brought one, but there's like this is the up part. Anyway. What's there now is concrete. And by the way, the area that I'm looking at is about 41 feet long and approximately 7 feet wide, so wider, I think.
Oh.
It's pretty heavy.
Thank you. Thank you.
The concrete will be jackhammered away and a base prepared. Of course, leveling and letting it set before construction on the porch will happen. Currently, the walkway is concrete with lots of surface imperfections. I've tried over the years to patch it as well as paint it. It doesn't last very long. While it looked better, it just didn't go with the style of the house. And I've been thinking about this for a long time. And I believe these vintage pavers will add to the historic facade of the home. Plus, you won't be tripping over the malaligned surface of the concrete. It's starting to flake up where I patched it. And I think there's tree roots under there and it's starting to push up. I do have some pictures if you want to see them. But you already have them in the application.
We have them, yeah.
Okay. The second project involves the front porch. The work will be done by Restorations Unlimited. They do residential as well as commercial projects. I've painted the decking several times as well as the columns. I now understand why the decking never held paint very well. I cut out a piece and I noted, I did not know this, but this is precious treated lumber.
Oh.
No wonder you can't paint it. Now that's near the house, so the sun didn't get at it. And sorry. Anyway.
You can continue talking now.
Okay, sorry. Anyway, the porch was decked over with pressure treated wood and pressure treated lumber. Doesn't take paint, as I mentioned. Now, I do have other pictures, and I'll give those to you in a minute. I'd like to outline the project for the porch because I think that's the most cumbersome one. I think the walkway is pretty straightforward. You dig it up, you put new stuff down, and it lasts for a long, long time. The roof material and construction. Now, I'm reading what was given to me by the contractor, but I have some answers to some of your questions that you had. Replace the roof above the porch with new EPDM or rubber roof. Build up the roof approximately 3.5 inches to cover the existing post supports, ensuring a seamless roof. And I'd like to show you that. And I brought several. I was running out of paper, so I only made 3. You'll have to share. And he also said to ensure the correct pitch for the new roof. Now, please note that I was informed that the roof will not be seen from the ground. I think you had asked that question. In addition, the metal fascia band will be replaced. Next, he talks about decking material options. Replace all front porch decking with new composite decking or Douglas fir decking. The contractor suggested I ask you to use composite decking. Yes, it's more expensive, I realize that, but it's more durable. I don't like painting so much, although I seem to do it all the time these days. And it has a wood grain finish. I have, if I may, 2 samples It's kind of close, but it's hard to tell because it's hard to tell because the paint's so faded. And I have another picture of the front porch area. Actually, I want to give you all this stuff because get to it. This is the area where it's traveled most, right in front of the door and about 3.5 or so feet. And the mailbox is right here. So it's kind of worn out. Like I say, that piece was taken from next to the house. And as I said, regarding the color, the current paint is quite bleached out. And I'm not sure I have the paint can that I used when I painted it the first time around, second time around. Now, of course, if Douglas fir is used, then I can get an exact match for the appropriate color. And as far as the steps are concerned, same thing as far as the decking that I just mentioned. Replace 2 front steps with a new set of steps using either composite or Douglas fir, matching the deck material. Next is the column removal and reinstallation. Oh, I did not know that this was that bad, but this is part of the steps. I don't know what kind of tree that's starting to grow there, but maybe you do. And next is the column removal and reinstallation. Amazingly, the columns are pretty good shape. There's a few that have around the base a little like weather rot. That's easily repaired, and it only goes up about 6 or 7 inches. And the rest is pretty good, and that can be. I could actually do that. Maybe I'll try to do a 6 of money. But anyway, there are 6 columns in total, 3 on each side. They're going to remove the columns, support the roof, replace the decking, and then reinstall the columns. So yes, the columns will be removed so that the porch can be worked on. I think that was one of your questions you had. And let's see, check the column bases for rot. I just mentioned there's 2 that are not so good. They'll just be fixed exactly the same as it is now, except for the, it'll be good wood. The other 4 columns appear to be in good shape. As mentioned, there is some rot around the 2 columns. It's just a decorative part, easily fixed and painted. And that's all I have on that. I do have one of my neighbors, the daughter of the folks that live 2 doors down, actually knocked on the door the other day and handed me this about the appropriateness of my request. And she's supported it. So I said, well, thank you. So and that's all I have.
Yeah.
You have any questions?
Are there any questions from the commission for the applicant on his presentation?
Mr. Chair, I just had a couple of points I wanted to make. You did a splendid job covering all the questions that I had put to you, the applicant. I did close by saying that the scale of those proposed pavers is much more in keeping with the historic house than the concrete walk that's failing there now. I just wanted to read briefly about the history, architectural history of your house, which I'm sure you knew, but the commission might find intriguing. The surveys that we've been involved with in the last few years actually reports out to a much higher degree the information on each one of these houses. So anyone can find that at the Karma, go to MHPC's website, look for Karma and it'll read, you can look up at most any of our surveyed houses. So this one, the history of this house was, it's the Charles L. Hayward House at 18 West Broadway. It was designed in the Queen Anne style and constructed around 1892, 1893.
1893, yes.
Yep. The architect is unknown. I've heard say that someone thought it was a Canadian architect. I'm not sure where that came from, but it's a splendid house. If you look at the photographs of it, it's got two really very unique features to it. One being that turret that comes out, and then one is kind of an octagonal one. It's attached to the front. I'm just curious, have you ever seen photos of the house painted anything other than white? Because it is the sort of house that in that period might have been polychrome, painted a series of colors, darker on the base, lighter as it got higher. No, who knows? But it's a beautiful house and you've done a great job of maintaining it. So that was my report. Yeah.
All right. Again, any questions for the consultant or the applicant from the commission?
Anybody likes to paint?
Great. I want to reinforce what was said before. It's really great to have the samples and get to look at the material that you intend to use to help us make our decision. I'm curious, one item of the porch and entryway that hasn't been discussed are the railings that are currently there. And I'm curious what your plans are with them.
I hope to reuse them, but I don't know. There's a little bit of rust here and there, but I can take care of that. I think the railing actually adds to it.
Yeah. Mike, I'm curious, do you have any thoughts about the railing and 1890s and
I'm not sure if it was original or not.
yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
When we bought the house 8 years ago this past May, there was railing there and it was, let's just say you wouldn't want to hang on to it for anything. And I bought this railing, gosh, it was a place that builds these commercial staircases up sides of buildings. They're heavy. They ain't going anywhere.
Any other questions from the commission? Seeing and hearing none, we open the session for the public hearing. Any questions or comments from the audience for this applicant?
This is kind of weird because in Toastmasters, you never have people behind you. I'm just saying. But anyway, I don't run it.
Design review of town hall was not the purview of this commission. Inside, only outside. Seeing nothing from those of us in the audience or on Zoom, we will close the public hearing and enter into discussion amongst the commissioners, if any, about this application. Remember to unmute.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess one thing that'll be important to state for the record is about the question of the composite material versus the Douglas fir. And, you know, they both seem like they would be appropriate to replace what's there to me, but I'm curious if anyone else has comments or discussion about that material.
I was generally okay with either or. I felt the visual profile of the floor of the porch was going to be fairly minimal, especially if color matching. Nate or Anne Marie?
I have no concern with the composite material versus the Douglas fir.
If there is concern with the commission, you can specify the material in motions as we proceed through, as we have done previously. If there is no additional discussion, we can proceed through our agenda and at least deem that move to deem that things were met procedurally speaking.
So, Anne, are each of the items that are highlighted in green, we want delivered orally, so they're entered into the written and verbal and audio record. Is that right?
That's correct. And so you would pass a motion to accept or otherwise each of those
Right.
items.
But the procedural background, does that need to be stated for the record? Because that's
No.
also highlighted here.
Meaning that
Um,
the application is deemed complete
Part
and that they've
three.
paid all fees.
Yeah, no, just the part one
Okay.
thereon. Yep.
So I'll make a motion that the commission finds, based on exhibits 2 through 8, the application satisfied Historic Preservation Code 148-9A, requiring that any alteration, construction, movement, or demolition will preserve or enhance its historic and architectural character.
I have a motion and a second. We will do a roll call vote, proceeding first with Nate,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
Yes.
Liam.
Yes,
I will also vote yes. Motion passes successfully.
I'll make a motion that the commission finds, based on exhibits 2 through 8, the application satisfies Historic Preservation Code 148-9B, subsection 2B, requiring that rehabilitation work does not destroy the distinguishing qualities nor character of the structure and its environment, and that the removal or alteration of any unique architectural features is avoided whenever possible.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. We will again do roll call vote. Nathan,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
Yes.
Liam,
Yes.
and I will also vote yes. Motion passes successfully.
I'll make a motion that the commission finds, based on exhibits 2 through 8, the application satisfies Historic Preservation Code 148-9B2C, requiring that while repair is preferable to replacement, in the event the replacement of deteriorated architectural features is necessary, the new material should match the material being replaced in composition, design, texture, and finish. And I will modify this to say we will leave it to the applicant's discretion whether the composite material or Douglas fir would be preferable.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Nathaniel,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
Yes.
Liam,
Yes,
and I also vote yes. Motion passes successfully.
I'll make a motion that the commission finds, based on exhibits 2 through 8, the application satisfies Historic Preservation Code 148-9B2D, requiring that distinctive stylistic features or examples of skilled craftsmanship which characterize historic structures is not damaged or destroyed whenever possible.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. We'll proceed with a roll call vote. Nathaniel,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
Yes.
Liam.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes successfully.
I'll make a motion the commission finds, based on exhibits 2 through 8, the application satisfies Historic Preservation Code 148-9B2E, requiring that the changes which have taken place in the course of time have acquired historic significance in their own right, are retained and preserved whenever possible.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. We will proceed with a roll call vote. Nathaniel,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
Yes.
Liam.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes successfully.
I'll make a motion the commission finds, based on exhibits 2 through 8, the application satisfies Historic Preservation Code 148-9B2I, requiring that whenever possible, all alterations to structures are to be done in such a manner that if they were removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the original structure would be unimpaired.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Proceeding with roll call vote. Nathaniel,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
Yes.
Liam.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Motion passes successfully. So we move to decide at this point. Anne,
Correct.
thank you.
Correct.
So I'll make a motion that the commission finds that the project meets the requirements for a certificate of appropriateness, and therefore we grant a certificate of appropriate permit for the proposed project.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. 4 affirmative votes are required to issue the certificate of appropriateness. Roll call vote. Nathaniel,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
Yes.
Liam.
Yes.
And I also vote yes. Motion passes successfully. Thank you for your time today. The next item on our agenda is a certificate of appropriateness for 120 Park Street, map lot 041-117, the Great Fire Historic District. The applicant owner is the Unitarian Universalist Society of Bangor. Approval is requested for a certificate of appropriateness to install rooftop solar. The property is located again at map lot 041-117 in the Great Fire Historic District. The floor is yours.
Good evening, members of the Historic Preservation Commission. My name is Mark McCullough, and I'm a member of the Unitarian Universalist Church at 120 Park Street, which you can literally see out the window here, right up the hill from City Hall. Our congregation has been talking about installing solar for about a decade, and we have got to a point where we are very interested in doing a rooftop solar project on our Dorothy Memorial Building, which is not the building right next to us, but further up the hill, where there's a roof that faces south. This would be a way for our congregation to live out our values of protecting the environment, but will also save our congregation about $5,000 a year. So we've contracted with Revision Energy. Many of you probably know of them. They're the largest solar installer in the state of Maine. And they've been working with us on project design and helping us with our applications to the city and the Historic Preservation Commission. So what we propose is to install 46 solar panels that would provide about 100% of the church's electrical usage on that south-facing roof of the Dorothy Memorial. That rooftop is an asphalt roof that was last re-roofed in 2017. And those panels will be placed over the asphalt. They will be black panels as we have in our application. The rim of those panels are also black, so they will blend in with the existing black roof that is there. There'll also be 2 inverters associated with the project. There'll be conduit that runs down the north wall of the Dorothy Memorial Building, and the 2 solar inverters will be placed very near the Versant electrical meter there on the north side of the building. So that's our project in a nutshell. Thank you very much for the comments that we received from your consultant. Those were very helpful. We tried to answer those 2 comments to the very best that we could, and provided a supplemental, some supplemental information to you for this evening's meeting, which you should all have. The one comment, the first comment, is probably the most substantial, and that is that the solar panels will be visible from parts of Park Street, and we acknowledge that, and we knew that right from the beginning. But what we did to address your question or comment is to do sort of a visibility analysis, and we looked every 50 feet along Park Street out here and estimated just what you could see of the solar panels as a person would walk uphill from Park Street, and found that in most places along the sidewalk on both the east and west side of Park Street, you'll only be able to see the easternmost panels in the solar installation. Maybe as many as 5 to 8 panels would be visible. But as indicated in your consultant's report, and we knew this, is immediately across the street, you can see the full south-facing roof of that building. And we walked around that area, assessed exactly how large the area would be, where the full solar panels would be visible, and it's an area of about 0.2 acres. It's basically the parking lot that's just uphill from the Tarratine Club. Otherwise, that roof is not visible from much of Bangor. It's not visible from anywhere on Center Street. There is screening to the solar panels, or where the solar panels would be, from parapets that are on the east and west side of the Dorothy Memorial Building. And also our sanctuary building screens the area where the solar panels would be to quite extent as well. So we provided that bit of a visual assessment to you. We also looked a little further into the Department of Interior guidelines for solar projects on historic buildings. Again, the area, the solar array will be visible as just from a 0.2 acre area. Otherwise, from portions of Park Street, you'll see maybe a couple of the panels, but the panels will be flush to the roof or elevated about 2 inches above the roof, and black panels on a black roof. There's nothing that we're doing that's going to alter any of the historic value of the building or any of the architectural details of the building. Solar projects could be even taken off in the future without any damage to the historic nature of our building, which we care about a lot as well. The panel should not visibly alter the slope of the roof according to the interior guidelines. And of course, they won't alter the slope in any way. They'll parallel the slope of the existing roof. They will be behind some architectural features, the parapets and the dormers that are up there. And so that will help to screen the panels. The mounting systems for solar panels, according to the Department of Interior, should be as inconspicuous as possible and compatible in color to the roof materials. And again, be black panels on a black roof, and there should be no other materials up there other than conduit. The conduit that we use on the roof, we could order black conduit so it matches with the roof. And where the conduit comes down the north side of our building, we would be glad to paint that conduit to match the brick, although Versant didn't do that recently with the installation of the electric meter on that building. So we tried our best to address the guidelines from the Department of the Interior and provided that information to you. We provided some photographs in our response about other historic buildings that have had solar installations on rooftops. One from the Washington, D.C. Historic Preservation Board that was recently approved, and Revision's installation of 56 solar panels at the Damariscotta Baptist Church. So
I just want to clarify. So there, in our packet, there is three pages of supplemental material that ends with section C after figure 4. And the examples that you're talking about now, I'm not sure where those appear.
okay, they were provided in materials that we provided to the planning department and historic preservation. They're photographs that look like this. Those in your packet.
They are not in mine, and I printed today.
How about you just pass that?
They're on the one that's the digital version.
Updated in SharePoint perhaps, but
Yeah.
So I have a 148-page packet for tonight. Is it supposed to be longer than that?
seems like it.
Yeah.
So maybe the material that you've just handed to us that begins additional information,
Right.
you might take just a little bit more time to walk through that, because
Okay.
most of us have not had a chance to look at it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. So we provided several pages of additional information. I might ask, did you see the visibility analysis that we did? Oh, that's too bad. because we spent a lot of time doing that. And prepared a map of where the solar panels would be visible from on Park Street and the area of the parking lot up here above the Terratine Club where the entire roof is visible. So we attempted to show that in our report. We also, in our report, as I just was going through, went through the 6 different guidelines in the Department of Interior for guiding solar projects on historic buildings. The comments we received reference the Secretary of Interior standards. So we went through each of those 5 standards, which I just did a few minutes ago, to address how those standards were being addressed. But I can do that very quickly again. So the interior guidelines for solar projects on historic buildings is to locate solar panels so they're not easily visible from a public right-of-way. And as we've just addressed, we did a visibility analysis. Part of the solar array will be visible from Park Street. The entire project will be visible from a 0.2 acre area on the parking lot uphill from the Terratine Club. The second item from interior is panels should not visibly alter the slope of the roof. So there'll be our project will not alter the slope of our roof in any way or be installed in any way that would affect any of the details, the architectural details of that building. The third item or standard is to locate panels behind existing architectural features such as parapets, dormers, and chimneys when possible. So as I indicated, there's parapets on the east and the west side of the Dorothy Memorial roof, and the panels will be between those. So that helps to screen the panels from adjacent streets, especially on the uphill side. And then our sanctuary building screens the panels as well. So it's actually a very small area in Bangor here on Park Street where that roof can be viewed at all. The fourth standard is that solar panels, mounting systems, and associated mechanicals should be as inconspicuous as possible and be compatible in color to roof materials. So black panels on a black roof, and we can match the conduit as well to the roof and to the brick building. And the final standard is installation of panels must be reversible and will not damage historic materials such as slate or the wood roof shingles. Panels can be removed with no damage to the roof. And Revision Energy has assured us that is the case. The panels could be taken off at some point in the future without any damage to the historical features of the building or to the roof itself. So that is what we, in a nutshell, what we presented, in addition to some photographs of other historic buildings, one in Washington, D.C., and the one in Damariscotta that would have panels similar to what we're proposing. So I apologize that you might not have received that from the city office. The other point that
Maybe you could just pass the photographs now and we could glance at them.
It is in the digital version of the
Since I can't
packet.
connect to Wi-Fi, I can't.
Oh, okay.
the other point that was made by the consultant was a question about the inverter boxes that will be on the north wall of the Dorothy Memorial Building. We have a mock photograph from Revision that shows where those inverter boxes would be placed, and we provided information on the size of those boxes. But the specific question is, how far would they stick out from the wall? And they would stick out about 8.5 inches out from the wall and be in the locations that we had in our application. So that question was fairly easy for us to address. So I think that's all. Well, yeah, in the last couple days, I wanted to let you know that we've been working with Versant, who has done the level 1 interconnection evaluation of our project. And they have indicated that they will need to upgrade the transformer on Park Street to a larger transformer to accept that electricity, and also a larger wire coming into the church, and put a new pole on Park Street to hold that transformer. So they'll take the old pole out, put a new one in to be able to accommodate that transformer. That will cost a bit more for our congregation to pay for those electrical upgrades on Park Street. And we've discussed in just the last couple days of reducing the size of our project very slightly from 46 panels to 42 panels. So 4 panels less than what we proposed to you originally in our application. Which gives us a little more ability to move panels on the roof and possibly even diminish the number of panels that can be seen from Park Street by moving everything over to the west further. Gives us a little more latitude to do that type of thing. So I think that's all I have. I'd be glad to answer any questions that folks have this evening.
Before we get into any questions for the applicant, esteemed consultants, do you have anything you would like to add?
Good job presenting your project. You answered most of the points that I had. Thank you very much. I did want to say, when the commission gets ready to look at the evaluation standards, 148-9B2H states that mechanical equipment such as solar panels, it's specific, shall be located in such a way as to minimize their visual impact. That's one of the issues you're going to cover. Just wanted to let the commission know a little bit more about the history of the building. The Universalist Unitarian Society Church building that exists today was designed by Boston architect Harvey Graves, very talented guy. It was dedicated on December 15th, 1862. The church building was substantially rebuilt following the Great Fire of 1911. And that building, if you saw photographs of it after the fire, was totally gutted. The back wall was blown off with dynamite. The Dorothy Memorial Building that the application is referring to, which is where the roof of the Dorothy Memorial Building, was an addition to the church designed by architects Crowell Lancaster in the 1920s in the colonial revival style. That's very evident in the detailing of the building. And in the parapets that you see a parapeted edge along the front, and the detailing of the arch window in the front of the building are all significant, substantial features of the building. So, thank you. And I think you did a good job trying to identify where it would be visible from. That's what the green zone indicates?
Yeah.
Where it would be
Exactly.
visible from.
Yes,
Mhm.
the green areas where it would be visible from. Yes.
The commission should have we do have that in digital form?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Good job.
Are there any questions for our consultant or the applicant from the commission?
So one of the things that we're struggling with is how visible these panels will be. And I appreciate the detailed response that gives us a much better sense of it. But I wanted to ask, part that was included in our packet in your supplement was figure 4, that shows a photograph that shows quite a bit of the roof visible. And I'm kind of curious about the photograph because it seems to be from kind of a high elevation. It's quite different than, I'm not entirely, so anyway, I wonder if you could tell me a little bit more. I mean, does this represent that little bit of the best view or the worst view?
Yeah, I took that photograph in midwinter. We photographed the roof to get a sense of the shadowing from our sanctuary building, which you can see in that photograph. But that's taken from that 0.2 acre area on the east side of Park Street. So that's the maximum extent of that roof that you can see as a pedestrian. If you're coming down the street, which is a one-way street, you won't see this rooftop unless you're looking in your rear view mirror and looking up. But it would be mostly people walking up Park Street, which could potentially see the solar panels.
And then I have a question about the inverter location on the north wall and the roughs. It's a relatively small alleyway that they would be in. Is that right?
Right, yeah.
And, you know, is there a reason why they need to be placed so close to the sidewalk side? I mean, maybe they need to be close to the existing Versant box that's on the,
Yeah, they need to be close to that electrical box.
yeah.
That's preferred. When we went over that with revision, that's their preferred location for those inverters.
And then the photograph, figure 2 in the packet that shows those inverters. Is there a car parked in that alley? Is that what we see the side of?
Car park.
Yeah.
there. Even though that's part of church property, the adjacent owners have parked a car there pretty frequently.
Great, but I think that gives us a sense of how small and tight that area is. And then I guess the last question I have in the Park Service guidelines about how to balance solar upgrades and energy efficiency with preserving historic preservation, they emphasize that effort should be made to think about alternative possible locations for panels. And so I wonder if you could describe a bit of that, of what the constraints are and why this seems like the right sort of compromise to place them.
So we had 2 buildings and a couple of roof facing different directions. The sanctuary building, the roofs face east and west, and they're slate as well. So it's just not amenable to putting solar on an east or west facing. Wouldn't be very efficient for us. The south facing roof of the Dorothy Memorial is nearly ideal. It's almost facing true south. And then of course, the other roof option would be the north facing roof of the Dorothy, which would have no value for solar at all. So that's really our only option, is that rooftop.
And there's not enough, you don't own adjacent open property where panels could be put other than on a rooftop?
Well, they could be ground mounted, but that would probably happen right up here above the retaining wall. And we didn't want that for the, how that would look with our church. We don't have a lot of yard space, as you know, right there. And we briefly talked to Revision about it. It would have been possible, but the rooftop is much less visible and we think would blend in with the roof well.
So a ground installation would be arguably more intrusive to the visual landscape.
Would be from a historic perspective, and yeah, I don't think our congregation would be very interested in that particular iteration.
Thanks.
Microphone, Mike.
You got the green. For the record, that the Bangor Commission, and it may not be the same commission that we have today, did approve solar panels on a flat roof down by the Chamberlain Bridge, if you recall. And there it worked very well because they were flat and they were high parapets around the outside of this commercial building. So people to this day don't see it at all. That, just to remind you, we have seen this before, solar panels.
To echo along for that, as a reminder to the commission, those solar panels are visible from a very select places, but you do have to be in those places to see that. No, we haven't done that yet, but that's because we're just completing our questions, really. Any further questions from the commission for the applicant? Then we will open public comment for anyone in the room or on Zoom who may wish to ask any questions or offer any comments on this application. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and enter into discussions from the commissioners. Don't forget to unmute.
So I think we have a kind of classic challenge of how we modernize and have energy efficiency and also preserve historic preservation. And I think the application has done a pretty thorough job of explaining that they're conscious of this and that they've tried to, install it at an appropriate location that has, doesn't have huge visual impact. So I'm pretty satisfied with the details I've heard.
I think my only concern with it was the visibility. It was really nice to hear that it was pictures of the other solar installations on similar roofs where the coloring of the solar panel was black to match the roof and the edge was reassuring. I don't think there's going to be, it will always be visible, but I think you'll also have to be looking for it. And the fact that it is removable if it is deemed an issue at another point does meet, I consider, an important criteria that I think we often overlook, which is if it is removable, it can be permitted, even if it's, we'll say, unusual.
Yeah, I think that the use of black on,
Oh, no, you're good. Sorry. I'm looking at this one.
I'm on. I think the use of black on black, I think is appropriate. And I think the desire to color match conduits to blend in as well as they can. I think it's a big help.
I was concerned when I saw our original part of the packet, the response is helpful.
And the visibility map is really helpful. Gives you a good sense of if you're in that area where you're going to be able to see, see those panels from.
The Technical Preservation Services exhibit or page in our panel, I did like the clear statement of having, just because it's ground mounted and not on the roof doesn't necessarily mean that it is a better fit for the site. Ground mounts can negatively impact the visual that we're trying to preserve. I did like the clear statement of the solar panels were installed appropriately on the rear portion of the roof in this historic warehouse that is not visible from the primary elevation. We have had buildings in the past where we have had to, I think, compromise on the visual based on what street you could see it from. So like the main thoroughfare was the one that we were trying to preserve the primary visual on. The Mansard building down, how it comes to mind.
And I did a quick look over Google Earth. I didn't see any other panels on any of the other homes. Did I miss any that any of y'all are aware of?
Not for me.
I didn't see any.
I think Anne-Marie has a clarifying question about the promotional material that was included in the packet from solaredge.com. And that illustration shows as silver framed panels, but I think it was stated earlier that the models that'll be put on the roof are black framed, not silver.
Yes, they're definitely black framed, and I confirmed that with revision earlier this week. We would not want panels that had white or silver frames. We want a black frame, so it's as least visible as possible.
Thank you.
I think one other thing I appreciated about the information we got tonight was the idea that the reduction of 4 panels could be done strategically so that they would further reduce the sort of visual imprint. So I think another good indication of making real efforts to balance sensible efficiency and sustainable upgrade.
Agreed, it is a prominent building, so any reduction in that is appreciated. Anything further from you, Nate? Anne-Marie, do we cover all of your questions?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Liam?
I'm going to begin my motion train. The commission finds that based on exhibits 2 through 4, the application satisfied Historic Preservation Code 148-9A, requiring that any alteration, construction, movement, or demolition will preserve or enhance its historical and architectural character.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Roll call votes, beginning with Nathaniel,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
Yes.
Liam,
Yes.
and I also vote yes. Motion passes successfully.
I'll make a motion that the commission finds based on exhibits 2 through 4, the application satisfies Historic Preservation Code 149-9B2B, requiring that rehabilitation work does not destroy the distinguishing qualities nor character of the structure and its environment.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, beginning with Nathaniel,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
Yes.
Liam,
Yes.
and I will also vote yes. Motion passes successfully.
I'll make a motion the commission finds based on exhibits 2 through 4, the application satisfies Historic Preservation Code 148-9B2C, requiring that while repair is preferable to replacement, in the event the replacement deteriorated architectural features necessary, the new material should match the material being replaced in composition, design, texture, and finish.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote with Nathaniel,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
Yes.
Liam.
Yes.
I will also vote yes. Motion passes successfully.
I'll make a motion that the commission finds based on exhibits 2 through 4, the application satisfies HPC 148-9B2D, requiring that distinctive stylistic features or examples of skilled craftsmanship, which characterize historic structures, are not damaged or destroyed whenever possible.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, beginning with Nathaniel,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
Yes.
Liam,
Yes.
and we'll also vote yes. Motion passes successfully.
I'll make a motion that the commission finds based on exhibits 2 through 4, the application satisfies HPC 148-9B2E, requiring that the changes which have taken place in the course of time have acquired historic significance in their own right and are retained and preserved whenever possible.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. We will do a roll call vote, beginning with Nathaniel,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
Yes.
Liam,
Yes.
and I also vote yes. Motion passes successfully.
I'll make a motion that the commission finds based on exhibits 2 through 4, the application satisfies HPC 148-9B2F, requiring that alterations to a historic building to create an earlier appearance have not be undertaken except when qualifying as restoration under the Secretary of the Interior Standards for Restoration.
Second.
I have a motion in 2 seconds. We'll do a roll call vote, beginning with Nathaniel,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
Yes.
Liam,
Yes.
and I will also vote yes. Motion passes successfully.
And a final motion, the commission finds the project meets the requirements for a certificate of appropriateness and therefore grants a certificate of appropriateness permit for this proposed project.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, starting with Nathaniel,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
Yes.
Liam,
Yes.
and I will also vote yes. Certificate of appropriateness issued. Motion passes successfully. Okay. That is the end of the new business on the agenda for tonight. So we return to old business carried from a previous meeting, which concerns the certificate of appropriateness for 198 Broadway, map lot 047-012, the Broadway Historic District. The applicant and owner is Steve Farren. Approval has been requested for a certificate of appropriateness for the replacement of a slate roof with GAF slate line asphalt shingles. The property is located under map lot 047-012 in the Broadway Historic District. Again, applicant Farren. Thank you. And just introduce yourself again, please.
Rick Violet, I'm a general contractor. I'm also the owner of a property in the historic district on Broadway. I'd respectfully ask at the moment for a brief recess so that Mr. Farren and I can consult with Ms. Craig.
I am amenable to a brief recess. Do we need a motion for that, Ann? Liam, would you give me a motion for a brief recess? Specify the time.
I'll make a
please.
motion for a brief recess.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I will stipulate that the motion, that the recess will be no more than 15 minutes. Nathaniel,
Yes.
Anne Marie, Liam,
Yes.
and I will also vote yes. 15-minute maximum recess, please. Thank you. We will reconvene. Thank you all for the patience with our short recess.
Mr. Chairman, in light of the fact that this is the same cast of characters we had at our last meeting, in light of the fact that there was one member who clearly had her mind made up and refused to consider the evidence that was presented at the last meeting, in light of the fact that we were promised a full board, clearly still not present, and in light of an inappropriate attempt at contact and influence by a city councillor, we are going to request that this decision be moved to a later date.
If I may be clear, the applicant wishes to continue or postpone their application.
Yes.
Thank you.
And just in terms of scheduling, I have a significant amount of the information that's going to be presented. I am away for the September meeting. So till October.
Thank you for that piece of information. Commission, the applicant wishes to continue. We would need a motion to continue until our October meeting. Anne, can you confirm that date for me? So we may put that specifically in.
It'd be October 9th.
The applicant would like to continue until our October 9th meeting. May I have a motion for that, please?
Would like to make a motion to continue the old business related to 198 Broadway until the October 9th scheduled meeting for the Historic Preservation Commission,
October 9th, 2025,
2025, October 9th, 2025.
I'll second the motion.
We will again, as always, do a roll call vote. Nathaniel,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
I have a reason for saying no. Maybe I need to discuss it before I do the voting. That is, I've been told that that we need a court order to start this thing de novo. And
Okay.
so I guess I need to find out, how did we get here? How did we get here from going right up to the court and about to be asking for a fine to starting de novo? I need to have that question answered.
and I appreciate your question, but we do have to vote.
Oh, sorry.
I would, given the fact that the attorney who is advising this board is sitting here, I would be curious from whom Mrs. Quinn is receiving legal advice about HPC matters.
I appreciate that.
And
Again,
I think it should be revealed.
It's being revealed. I'm doing it completely in public.
that's true. We are in a motion to continue or not.
Oh.
Can I have a yes or no vote from you?
I don't know. I don't know. What to, I
You
don't
can
know.
abstain.
I can abstain. Okay, I abstain.
Liam?
I vote yes.
I also vote yes to continue. I believe this is just a majority vote.
Yeah.
Motion to continue passes successfully to the October 9th, 2025. Any questions? And I will default to our legal counsel as far as that's concerned. If that needs to be addressed, it can be addressed as a matter of the public record for that meeting during the application. So the next item on the agenda is meeting minutes from the previous two meetings. July 10th and July 31st.
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the July 10th, 2025 and July 31st, 2025 meetings of the Historic Preservation Commission.
I second.
Nathaniel,
Yes.
Anne Marie,
Yes.
Liam.
Yes.
I also vote yes. Minutes are approved. By my one thing that I get to do, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your attendance tonight.